And there we go. My topic visits me without me even having to think about it. What really has hit me, because of a good comment. I think it was a very good comment. I don't take it as somebody just, shouting at me or something like that. No. I really wanted to think about it. Take a walk. I did have a little drink. Had my after work drink. Had my after work gameplay as well. And it's so bright and warm and nice out here. Thought, well, let's walk through this, because now I thought about it and I was like, wait a second, wait. You guys are taking this the wrong way. You keep thinking America and Western Europe is doing you Ukrainians a favor. Now you don't have the shackles of people who speak a language so similar that your own leader is actually a speaker of that language natively. Yes, indeed, Zelensky is a Russian-speaking Jew, not a Ukrainian speaker. He had to be trained how to speak in Ukrainian, apparently. So that this is now, some people might say no, we heard about this has been debunked, blah blah. That's what I know. I'm sticking to it. That's what I know so far. He was a peacenik candidate. Something turned him. I'm thinking it was the money. He was given an opportunity he could not, he probably likely couldn't say no to. He said, not only will you have a dacha, you'll have multiple dachas, a lot of money, and you won't be dead. So I'm figuring he's like, oh, I get to live and have money and many dachas? Well, who doesn't want that? Anyway, because it's this idea that, that the most poorly sold, really, let me slow my pace so I can think it through. Ooh, this is not good. There's a lot of, dang it, I gotta look up what that's called. Like the scum on the water forming in the new little experiment here. I think they need a bit more water running. Whoa, there we go, kingfisher. I think that's a kingfisher. I think we've seen the kingfisher again that hangs out around here. That's dope. I like that. Yep, he's come back. Yeah, it's so cool. All right, anyway. So let me slow my pace. So at this stage, what you really have is Zelensky is this strange character who I believe is supposed to be sort of acceptable to the Western world as like, oh, this is totally a brave leader of his people. But that's the problem, is that everything about Zelensky is this sort of awkward comedian. And he comes across as awkward. Like there's nothing that gives him a smoothness, an approachable demeanor. He's diminutive in size. He's diminutive in size. Every woman in a photo is taller than him. I mean, you can't sell him. You can't sell Volodymyr Zelensky. You can't. I love that somebody said this is the worst Kabila's manager I've ever seen, because it was perfect. It was a perfect description of him. Strip club owner is one, but Kabila's manager nailed it. Nailed it because of the goofy outfits all the time. I mean, anyone who's been around like an area that suddenly a bunch of Ukrainian guys suddenly just show up magically. By the way, we got some ducks hanging out. But when Ukrainians are incredibly well dressed, like they're double Russian. It's or not even that. It's that they dress in a way that makes you think of kind of Italians and Russians in a weird way. But it never was over the top. But it was especially the deal of they filled in their jackets. Like their shoulder span in their jackets made sense. And they would always have bumper stickers that had the UKR bumper sticker on it. That was the other thing that was uniquely odd about them in San Francisco. Uniquely odd. Yeah, smoky glasses, all showing up at a bakery on Geary Street, like Enforce, and just decked out in suits. And that was really weird in that part of San Francisco to see that. Like, it really stuck out. They look like Dvory, they look like, gangsters, and that because that's what they were trying. But I mean, it was the gangsters who could afford the look kind of thing. And so that's the, I just thought about it. I was like, that's my experience with the Ukrainians. And that when Ukrainians were discussed, they were discussed as, like, do not ever get involved with those people. Like, they're really dangerous people. People would use them as an example of how bad something was. And this is in the 90s. This is way back in the late 90s. And so I just kind of want to put this context out there. America seemed, and so then you get this offshoot of research into how did so many Ukrainians show up in the United States after World War II and get employed in the government. Well, one of the things that's an offshoot to this is research into Klaus Barbie. And Klaus Barbie and the fundamentally fascist narco state that he created in Bolivia. Now, I was alive during this time. I never heard of Klaus Barbie. I never heard about a narco state in Bolivia created by Nazis. None of this. This was not something that a politically aware family would have known in the 80s. Like, and I'm really very serious about this. We had talk radio on in the 80s like mofos in my house. And I never have heard of this until within about the last 10 years. Because of specifically looking into the Bush family, the Bin Ladens, and whatever tied them together, which ended up being their sort of weird tie to a lot of powerful people during the whoa, yeah, just hanging out. I hope I'm getting that. Look at that tiny, wow, you're tiny. It's like the size of a finger. I hope I'm getting this bird. This is awesome. I never get moments like this. I bet it's, oh yeah, no, okay, there we go. But anyway. So the part that the thing I was thinking on to even post this and was, why are you trusting that we are going to do right by Ukraine? That the United States and the Pentagon, under the former leadership, these people who a bunch of Ukrainian Nazis made an agreement with, so nobody knows anything about this. Every time I bring this up, I realize people think this sounds so bizarre. Like people who really think they're fucking smart. And they think this is such a bizarre thing to bring up. And it's like, I want you to think about this, you fucking retards. What if your grandfather ran Ukraine? What if your grandfather was like the governor of some place in Ukraine? And he had to come to the United States after the war because he was a Nazi, and he's been having to sell like used cars, and then his used car gig becomes like a quasi hustle of packing the cars with fucking coke and sending them to Africa or some stupid shit like that. Like, think about how much they would have been like, yeah, one day we're going to have our land back. But like mafia style, with the entire concept of, no, we were totally fairly elected at the time, and we're the real rulers of that country. There's people who do this. Iran and Persia. We still are dealing with these people who are these quote-unquote kind of royal families of Iran, or something, that we're supposed to, I guess, some point, like, include them in the process of when the Iranian regime falls, I forget what their names are. Probably some of you who are more adept at social media, you see them post things about how terrible the Iranian regime is, and then you're like, who's this person? And they're this person who claims that, them and their family and these other people are going to help bring back reform to Persia or whatever, whatever it is. And I forget what they like, literally, I think it's Pahlavi is the last name, and it's because it's the ancient name of an ancient royal name, like Pahlavi, Pahlavi. These all have a similar background. If I remember right. Okay, there we go. Don't drop the goddamn phone. Okay, so why would you think, after seeing what happened to Persia/Iran, seeing what happened to country after country, especially within the Ummah, why would you trust that we're going to do right by the Ukrainians in the long run? That we're not, why, well, like, the thing that blows me away is the whole issue about a lot of the breakaway republics, or the breakaway oblasts, is that there's a huge region that fundamentally one of our major oil conglomerates wants to hydraulically fracture. It's like fucked up. Like when like people were like people with kind of the inside. So there was a lot of people who would talk to the right, and after all these years, what it appears is that these were people who actually had USAID knowledge and were communicating it on YouTube. And they were telling us, like, no, this is what the plan is. This is what's going to happen. This is what really we're doing. the more I really think about it, the more I'm like, no, this was one of the worst ideas they ever had, was having this sort of front group for the CIA. I was like, no, with people positing a lot of right-wing conspiracy, I would sit back and I'm like, no, at some point, you have to try to employ this as an operation. And that's when you sit back and see the bullshit, because it's coming. To paraphrase Outcasts, the rap group. USAID seems to actually have been a key source for alternative media. That a lot of alternative media appear to be people who were USAID people, possibly, or privy to what USAID was, a lot of information within it. Because they would post things that you would now and then be like, really? And you would look into it and you would find, there's good documentation on this. This is solidly, loosely what this program says it's doing. And that became gold. Now, the beauty of this was no one would believe it. So all you would have to do is look into it. Does this sound like bullshit? Well, let's poke around. You start finding out, well, this isn't really bullshit. But it would definitely be dishonest if what the claim is what's being done. That the money is not for food, it's for weapons. Things like that. Well, that kind of thing kept ringing true over and over again for so long. Ukraine has this tremendous problem with this, of no one wants to track the money, which is everything. Even this is one of these things that I kind of have this feeling that there's probably like some word in various Eastern European languages that describe what I'm trying to bring up here. Oh, you don't want me to count the money. Oh, I'm not supposed to know where the money went. That kind of idea. And that's the big one. We don't really know what is happening in Ukraine. A lot of people need to deal with that who are pro-Ukraine. We don't know how many people are dying. Remember, Donald Trump admitted, he goes, if you all actually knew what we were seeing at the White House. So this means that he's openly saying that reports on the deaths in the battlefield are very likely inaccurate. I don't quite know what, this is such a bad, there's no place that you could say, well, no, but you see, Russia does this. We don't even know how bad. Ukraine is either crushing Russia, which it doesn't seem to be doing at all, in any way. And it doesn't seem to have done that for more than a handful of successes. Or being crushed by Russia. We don't know where the money's gone. And now there's a bunch of people who brought up, well, because we don't really keep track of the weaponry, we don't know what they do with it. We don't know if they use the weapons or not, because we're not tracking it. We've gone out of our way to make sure to not track what is going on dollar for donut, dollar to dime to donut. Imagine at one time donuts cost a dime. Donuts cost a dime. Was it dimes? I think it's dimes to donuts is the term, but I'd have to look it up. Dollars to donuts, dimes to donuts. Anyway, it's like $1. You got 13 of them, maybe something like that. I don't know. We can't guarantee almost any information. We don't know where the population of the country has ended up. It's like that's just a simple indignity to the people of the country that there's young men who are like, well, no, I would never go back because they'll draft me and then I'll just fucking die. Like that they wouldn't even want to be in their native land. And then beyond that, the EU positing, well, then what we need to rebuild the country are a bunch of people from 10,000 miles away from totally different continents to rebuild it. Like that makes any fucking sense. Like, I mean, that even makes the smallest amount of sense when you have some idea of how important it was that the Belarusians, the Hungarians, the Germans, the Polish were to being a part of the milieu of what we think of as Ukraine. And it's just bullshitters and dumbasses that now have so many of these people so over a barrel because this was such a bad idea. And they had, and key to this, what it always appears at all times, they were expecting a bunch of men, millions of men, to be like, oh yeah, oh fuck Russia, oh those guys, oh I'm gonna fight them, I want to wrestle in the mud with the Russians, oh yeah, this is now, I want to point out the fake it till you make it, phony liberal bitch culture. That, yes, in some performative world of very homosexual thespianality, there's a world where there's a guy fighting with a, like, shovel fighting. It's me, I'm an American, and I only fight with my hands. But I'll put on these leather gloves, Ivan. Well, I am a Russian, and I will fight with my mighty shovel. It's this long martial arts scene. Mysterious Russian shovel martial arts against an American, just a good old boy who can whoop your ass, who knows who is gonna open a can of whoop ass. You know, no, but of course it wouldn't be that. No, it would be a black chick with dreads in the field, and she's going to fucking, like, super fight Ivan. Like, this is going to be a super long fucking fight scene. Because she's just got to kick his ass so much. It's got to be so humiliating. Ivan can't lay he can't lay any leather. He can't land that shovel on her. You know. Dirty Ivan. Crazy, dirty Ivan. He's crazy and he's dirty. He's stupid. Stupid. Like, dear, get out of my lab. How do you get into my laboratory? So stupid. Anyway. So, this site, the Ukrainians were sent into something that was suicidal from the beginning. This sort of weird concept that there would be, like, the French and the Italians would rise up or something, you know, and go and fight the Russians, you know. I mean, it just gets more and more preposterous the more you posit anything like this. In fact, it starts anyone who's like aware of like how weird it is, the Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox power relationships in Europe are. They would pick up on like, no, this really kind of looks like somebody's picking up where they left off in a way. Um, and so now it's this thing of like, well, why do you trust us? I mean, most importantly, I mean, like, you're Slavs. Like, at least you get this idea of like a handshake is a handshake. That ain't the same in America anymore. Look at the state of our fucking country. Look how fucking people behave here. Look at the videos of us. I know people might be like, oh, but you don't see Slavic videos. You don't see how fucking ridiculous we are. No. You don't understand. No, something is very wrong and poisoned. Poisoned the blood. That wasn't an inaccurate way of putting it. A handshake doesn't mean the same thing here anymore. Honor, bog, and then all of you always have to tell me that last word. It doesn't mean the same thing here anymore. The young men are going to bring it back. You will have men to deal with. It's going to be about 10, 15 years. And they'll look you straight in the eye and be like, this is what we want. You know, now you've got one guy who will do that. But man, Zelensky's a fucking clown, bro. And you guys got to start getting this idea behind your head. This whole thing is the shittiest operation. It is so gay and lame. I can't. It's actually one of those things of having been around people from that part of the world. I'm just like, this is not the kind of dude who should be representing the Ukrainian people. If the idea is that you want to come across as a group that should be respected and maybe even feared, you know, and are strong and upright and stuff, it's like this fucking guy who's like 5'2", like it's not working. But anyway, and I love how the other part is you had a whole brigade of soccer hooligans. Another thing, a lot of you guys gotta just stop. We saw them. The Russian media nailed you guys on this. American media nailed you on this. They were at the camps. American media was at the fucking camps, dude. Vice News had a multiple part series on your fucking youth camps. Stop. You have people who are like kind of picturesque leadership quality. The problem is that at some point they'll probably say something that the United States government is like, or Belgium, and that Belgium won't like. And then think of that. You're Slavic people being ruled over by goddamn Belgians. I mean, that's just mean to say. Wow. Oh, sorry. All right. Okay. But yeah, you're Slavs being ruled over by Belgians and Anglos who promise you that, oh yes, I'll have plenty of American equipment to help you. Don't worry. You just pick a fight with the Russians. You just go and pick a fight with Ivan there, and everything will be fine, mate. I'll be back with some, like, really great gear. Wow. You're Eastern Europeans. How are you falling for this? How are you falling for this? Like, and then just the idea of, like, oh, because we changed, America's suddenly not up to something bigger. No, no, no. Just like with the Soviets. No, no, no. There was never anything bigger going on. No, no, no. It was all ideals. They wanted to free the Slavs from the binds and shackles of communism. That's what it was. Oh, if it wasn't for Joe Stalin, everything about these people would be freaking awesome. Don't trust America until we have people in charge that insist on telling you what we want from you. And that's a warning to the world.